We do want to thank everyone for joining us in this first ever pre-release webinar. Sina and I are really excited to showcase some of the features that are coming out with this next release. So we're really happy to have you all here. And your engagement and your feedback is really appreciated. It means the world to us. And I do encourage you all to ask questions throughout the entire webinar. Just like last time when we did the post-release webinar, we are going to answer the questions live. So I'm going to interrupt Sina as he goes through and make sure that we get your questions answered. And really, we're just here to provide you with the most transparent and insightful experience, like as much as possible. So once again, if you have any burning questions related to the upcoming release, just don't hesitate to ask. We'll be answering your questions live as we go. And since this is our first time hosting a pre-release webinar, we are eager to hear your thoughts and feedback. Your input is really valuable to us as we navigate this new experience. So if there's anything in particular that you enjoy, or if you have any suggestions for improvement, please let us know. And so before we start showcasing these new features, we want to just give you a friendly reminder. As we are excited to give you the sneak peek of what's in store, we just want to emphasize that the features we'll be discussing today are still in development, which means they aren't live yet. And that means that they're subject to potential changes and refinements as we work to perfect them. So we are going to be showing you all these features in what we call a staging environment. And it's basically just a fancy copy of our real software setup. It's where we polish up all the cool stuff before it actually goes live. So picture it as a practice run before the main event, an appetizer. So it gives us an opportunity to make sure that everything runs smoothly and we catch any hiccups before we officially release these features. So with all that in mind, let's jump into the preview of the upcoming software update. Sina will be walking you through all the features and I will be monitoring the Q&A in the chat. So please remember to ask your questions as we go along. So with all that being said, Sina, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. That was an awesome intro. There was already 2 people asked the same question, so I just want to address that really quickly. Kia and Michelle asked, when's the release date and when will these changes go live? So we are aiming for end of August. We don't have an exact date today, but there will be one very, very soon. And as soon as we do have that date, we always communicate that through an in-app banner and also updates on our status page. So just keep an eye out for that and you'll know what the exact date is, but we're looking at end of August for these changes to go live. With that being said, we have a lot to cover.
Just remind everyone how to subscribe to the status page, just in case they don't know.
Absolutely. It's just status.wellnessliving.com. So you can go in there and punch in your email address or cell, and you'll get a text or an email whenever there's an update coming. But like I said, we do a huge banner inside the actual software, so you can't really miss it when there is an announcement. Okay, let's get into it. The first feature we're going to be talking about today is probably the most exciting one. I know that probably for many of you, it will be the most exciting one. It's actually an update to our marketing suite. We're adding a brand new visual email editor. So this has been a request for a very long time, but it's here or will be here very, very soon. So I'm not going to go super in depth. This is not going to be a tutorial on how to use it, but it is actually really easy to use. So I'm sure for many of you, it'll just be intuitive. As soon as the update's live, you'll jump in there and start using it. But I am going to show off a couple of things that you'll be able to do with it and how it's going to work. So this email editor is going to be available anywhere in the software that you manage email templates, not just the marketing suite. So, if you're sending a one-off communication or something, you can also choose to use it there. Since we are on the staging environment, the email preview is missing. Normally your template would be right here, but that's missing. But what you will notice is there's a nice button that says visual editor. When you click on that, it's going to open the editor in an overlay. And it's basically a drag and drop email builder. It's really intuitive. So on the left, this is a template that we've made totally from scratch in this editor. So this is not like pre-filled or anything. We made this just using the tools that you have available here. And you're going to be able to make an email like this yourself in just a couple of clicks, customize it to match your branding. These blocks on the right, if you've used our forms tool, it's really similar to that. So you basically just drag and drop the blocks where you want them, rearrange them. You have things like heading, you have things like image upload. So, no more having to host images on a third party just to get them into your email templates. We have an animated GIF here. that I can click on to show you how that works. So, you know, if you do have a link somewhere that you want to use, an image that you grabbed off of Google or something, you can definitely put that in there. But if you also have it on your computer, you can upload that, no problem, change the alignment, things of that nature. I will add a new element here. So I do have a footer for this template that you know, directs us to our website, but you can also add your social links as buttons really easily. So I can just drag that in, click on that element to edit it, and then essentially any social link that you want to share, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, your YouTube channel, if you have one, you can just click on it and paste in your business's link, and then it'll build the footer for you. So again, really simple to use. Don't have to mess around with HTML or anything like that, although that is available if you want to use it. The other two elements I want to show off, there is a timer. So for things like promotional emails or workshop announcements or things of that nature, you can drag and drop a timer into the template that you can actually customize the color of, and then obviously count down to a specific date or time. So really great to incentivize signing up for a workshop or an event, or when a discount code is going to expire or anything of that nature. And I'll just trash that. The last element I wanted to show is the ability to embed videos. So again, really simple to use. It does support YouTube or Vimeo links. So you just paste the link into here. It doesn't have to be a YouTube link. You can use basically any video platform, but if you do use a YouTube link, it will grab the thumbnail and put it into the actual email template. So obviously there's a benefit there. Something we are working on, but won't be ready for this release, is for Fitvid subscribers to be able to put links just like this into their emails from their Fitvid libraries. Of course, you can still link to your Fitvid videos, but they just won't have this pretty play button unless you did that manually.
Sina, I know we wanted to mention this towards the end, but we did get a question if email scheduling will be out with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So not with this release, but we are working on a host of improvements to the marketing suite. So this was like, this email editor was like at the top of the list in terms of demand. And the one right after that was email scheduling. So that will be coming out with our next release, not August, but the one after. And it is on our community forum. So if you want updates on when that feature is going to be available in terms of which month it's going to be, make sure you go to the forum and follow that. I do see another great question from Callie that I glossed over, which is that timer customizable? You can customize the color of it. I just glossed over it, but yeah, you can change the background color and the digits and the fonts, but that's about the extent of it.
So we did get a bunch of people who just recently joined, and they're asking about the release date. So do you want to just mention that one more time?
Yeah, sure. So this release is for the end of August. We don't have an exact date right now, but we are aiming for probably the last week of August. And when we do have an exact date with our releases, we always put a huge banner inside the software so you can't miss it. When you sign in, it'll tell you what the exact date is. The last thing I wanted to show with the email editor before we moved on is the fact that if you do need not a fancy email, let's say you just have like a class or something, or you want to email an individual client and it's enough for you to just use the basic one, you definitely still have that option. So I have Erica here on an appointment. I'm going to go to email her. And by default, you know, the basic email editor is, of course, still here. But when you go to use the visual editor, if you start making edits in here and then you save them, you will be restricted to just using the visual editor. So for example, if I just add a button, just as an example, to my email and then save it, the preview is missing. We talked about that. That's not intended. You will still be able to preview the email, but if you wanted to reset it back to the default, you just click on this reset button and you will potentially lose some of the fancy customizations you made, but it will go back to letting you use the basic editor. So you always have that option available to you.
We got a bunch of questions in.
I bet.
Yeah, Victoria's asking if the social media blocks can be saved and reused in other emails.
Yeah, awesome question. I haven't actually tested that yet because this is my first time using the editor in this particular studio, test studio. So I don't know if it actually remembers your links. I would imagine that it does, but I'd have to check and get back to you, Victoria. Something we are working on is because we do already have a section in the backend for you to put in your own social media links under set up business URLs. We're working on just having these copy over to the email editor, but that's not done yet.
And I know eventually we were talking about the ability to duplicate emails, so that might be something of interest as well.
Yep.
So Lauren is very excited about this. So thanks, Lauren. Chuck is asking if this will be available automatically, or do they need to do anything to get this in their accounts?
Yeah, all of our releases are automatic. You don't have to do anything. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, we do notify you typically at least 3 days before the release, but I think it's more like 5 or 7 most of the time. So you will have some notice. And this is the first time we're doing a pre-release webinar. So consider this a sneak peek. Obviously, when the release goes live, you're going to have the full release notes. We're only really going to be scratching the surface of what's in the release today.
We have another question about auto saving, if that's coming, and if there would be an undo function.
Yeah, the editor does support undo. You can just press Control-Z or Command-Z if you're on a Mac, or Z if you're Canadian, and it'll just undo your last action. As far as autosave goes, honestly, I don't know off the top of my head, Callie. I'd have to check and get back to you.
And Jamie is asking if they can create templates for headers and footers that would exist in future emails.
Yeah, you can. So the way that you would do that, I'm actually really glad you asked because I forgot to mention that. You go to automated marketing, custom email templates, and just like today, this is available today, you can create as many email templates as you want that are then reusable throughout the system. It's just that instead of using the basic editor to do it, you could now use the visual editor. And then whenever you go to edit that email, somewhere else, like if you wanted to email an attendance list or something, or an event roster, you could just pull up that template from your list and resume your work in the email editor, the visual editor, excuse me. So yeah, you do have that option.
Awesome. Let's move on to the next feature.
For sure. So the next one is also actually probably one of our highest requested features right now. It's booking for relationships on the client view. So I'm actually going to switch over to the client web app by clicking on my profile. So we've actually implemented the ability for clients to book for relationships and add relationships during the booking flow for all of our service types, including classes, events, appointments, and assets. So I'm just going to find a free class here. We have gentle yoga this afternoon. That sounds good, even though it's a last minute booking. And what's new is this block here at the top that says booking for. So as long as you have this feature turned on in your business, and I'm going to show you how you turn that on, clients will see this drop down. By default, they're going to be booking for myself. So I'm signed in as Katie. It's going to be booking for me. But if I have a relationship on my profile, I can toggle over to them. The rest of the booking experience is the same. It's just that when I'm done, the booking is going to be on Gemma's profile, not mine. I can also add a new relationship if I don't have one already. That's going to keep me in the booking flow and just get some minimal information like name, email. Of course, relationships in our system can share email addresses if it's a family or a parent-child relationship. So you can check that off, define what the relationship type is, and then who handles the transactions. And again, that defaults to having the user who's adding the relationship pay for them. But if they want them to pay for themselves, they can also do that. Just something to note, this is for transactions in the future. So when I'm making a booking as Katie, I'm always responsible for paying if the service does require payment. So that way you're not going to get people showing up in your studio who are not paid when you do require them to be.
Sina, just a quick
awesome.
question from the Q&A, if this is available on widgets and custom apps or just in the standard Achieve app. And actually I can answer this. It'll be available on widgets and the client web app. And in the future, we will work towards adding this in the Achieve app in both versions, in the free one and in the white label version. And I just wanted to mention something. If the person is booking for somebody else and that person which they are booking for doesn't meet the requirements of that service, there will be a little alert that says that that person doesn't meet the requirements and they would have to select somebody else to book that service for.
Yeah, exactly. If you have age restrictions or something else and they switch to a client profile that doesn't meet that restriction, they will get a message so they don't get stuck. They know what's what the deal is.
Yeah, there's a few more questions. Ali's asking, if a parent creates a child, will they be prompted to sign the new waiver form for each child? And the answer is yes. So how it works is if the relationship is a child, then the parent will have to fill out any documents associated to the child's profile. However, if the relationship is anything other than a child, the documents are added to that relationship as unsigned or outstanding. And then the next time that relationship logs in, they will be prompted to fill in those required documents.
Yeah, exactly like Avital said. So Gemma is a child of Katie, so that's why I do have the option to fill in her form. And if we had a waiver, I'd have to fill in the waiver as well.
And Matt is asking if multiple people can be booked at the same time. And this is something that we are working towards in the future. Sina, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, for this release, it's just going to be the one at a time, but exactly like Av said, we are going to be working on an option for group bookings. So just to kind of visualize how that would look like for you, you'd have the ability to basically have multiple drop downs here and choose multiple people, but that won't be this release, that'll be a future release. That's another big request. It's on our form if you want to follow that for updates.
And Tracy's asking if the list of relationships can be customizable because they do have a dog business. So they would want to customize, instead of using child, they would want to use the word dog. So that is a request from Tracy.
Yeah, that's a great request, Tracy. Today, no, I think we just have other as the last relationship type. That's something we could definitely look at adding in the future, additional relationship types. It wouldn't be too big of a lift, but I'm not sure if there's a request for that in the system already or not.
Brandy is asking, will this always add as a new client? Is there a way to select a current client? So at the moment, clients cannot link themselves to other clients in your business. If they wanted to do that, they would have to contact your business so that a staff member can do that, and that's for security purposes. Then Kelly's asking, if the child is over 18, documents should not be signed on behalf of the child. We'll have to double check and get back to you on that one. Yeah, Sina, can you elaborate on that?
I'm pretty sure it is just based on the relationship type. So I think if it is child, the parent is able to do it for them. Age is not considered. That's something we could look at changing because I do know about the age of majority thing in most states, but that also does vary by location. So in some states and provinces, 18 is not necessarily the cutoff for that. But yeah, for this release, it is just based on the relationship type.
Ali is asking if they're already linked, assuming it will work and the child will show correct. Yes. So if they're already linked, like currently in your business, they're linked, the relationships will show in this dropdown, as long as in your security settings, and if you want to switch over to the staff backend so we can show the setting. So as long as that's enabled, then they will be linked. They'll see the relationships in the dropdown, and the relationships that they do see will be dependent on the relationships that are selected in the setting. So Sina is just pulling it up here. So as you can see here, everything is selected: child, friend, other, etc. If you only want, for example, parents to sign in and book for their children, then when the client adds a relationship, the only option that they will see is child. So it's connected in that way. I hope that answers your question, Ali. James is asking, will the schedule show classes and events where the logged in user doesn't meet the age restrictions? And the answer is yes now. So as long as this toggle is on and clients can book for other clients within a relationship, then restricted bookings will appear as available. But when they click book and they select themselves, then they'll see the message that they're not eligible for that service.
Great question, James.
Yeah, that is a great question. And last from Tracy, is this new feature available for first-time bookings and for events? For example, a person who is new to our company wants to book their dog or child, in this case, into an event. Can they select their child in that first booking? And the answer is yes as well. So for a non-logged in user, especially on the widget, they're going to see booking for me or booking for someone else. And when they click on somebody else, in that dropdown, they'll be prompted to sign in right away or create an account. And from there on, they can add the relationship in. All right, let's move on to the next feature.
Awesome. Lots of great questions on that one. Thank you, guys. Okay, speaking of booking, this is actually a pretty exciting one. So client groups, it has to do with client groups. So if you're not familiar with what client groups are, which you really should be, because it's one of the most powerful pieces of the system today, they're just ways of exactly what it sounds like, grouping clients together. You can do so manually or by criteria that you set up. So things like milestone visits, people who have specific memberships or purchase options on their profile, demographic information such as age ranges, etc. Those will update the groups in the background, and then you can do all sorts of things with those groups, including segmentation for marketing, etc. What we're adding in this release is actually restrictions for client groups that we didn't have before. So the 3 restriction types are booking restrictions, purchasing restrictions, and discount code restrictions. So all sorts of things you can do with that. You can restrict certain services from being booked if the client is not a member of a group. You can make promo codes that are only accessible or redeemable by clients who belong to a certain group. Let's say you're running some sort of outreach program at your studio and you've identified some members that you want to give a promo to, but you don't want the code to be usable by everyone. You can now do that by group. I should probably show off how you would do that. So we'll just do it for a service because that's the most straightforward example. If I go to grab an appointment, and here I have a follow-up session appointment. Let's say I only want clients who have actually attended an initial consult to book this follow-up. I would just make a client group. The criteria for the group would be, has attended one initial consult. And then if I scroll down, I think it's all the way in the advanced settings for services. Client online booking, only selected client groups or types can book online. So the types restriction we have today, the groups restriction is coming out this month. So you can just go ahead and click on this dropdown and select all of the groups that would be eligible to book this service. And it is an inclusive multi-select, meaning that if I choose off 2 groups here and then I choose 2 types here, as long as the client is a member of one of these types or at least one of these groups, either or, they will be able to book the service. And this exact same interface is available for your products, your purchase options, and your discount codes. So again, a lot of flexibility there. I'm sure that many of you are already thinking of ways that you could apply this in your business. So we're really excited to release that this month.
Yeah, and just to squeeze something in there, right now you might be used to doing this with client groups, restricting bookings, purchases, and discount codes based on, types. But as we know, only one type can belong to one client, whereas a client can belong to many groups. So this will give you that added flexibility that you might need to get your clients booked in, or to be able for them to see that purchase item in your business.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about client groups a little bit more when we get to some changes we made to the client profile in this release. But that was it for the group restrictions. So I'll move on if there is no other questions. The next feature is about store commission. So if you are a studio that offers commission for your staff for retail sales that they make, then under store settings, you probably already have this toggle on to allow staff members to apply commissions. But as of today, that's a completely manual process. The staff member has to remember to check off a box during the sale. And when you have a client in front of you, you don't always remember to do that. And then there's no way to retroactively apply the commission to the purchase. So that can be a pain a lot of the times. So what we've done is we've implemented the ability to set up automatic commissions. So the system, you set up which staff should get which commissions for which items. You do that once, and then the system will take care of it for you. Every time that staff member processes a sale, they will get the correct commission automatically. I'll just walk you through really quickly how that would work. So first step, you would turn this on under store settings to even have automatic commissions enabled. Then you would go to an item that's eligible for commission, like a product or a purchase option. I'll just grab this t-shirt here, and I will scroll down to the commission section. This section is new, so you can check off which staff are eligible to automatically get commission for this particular item. So I can choose Caitlin, choose her commission rate, and hit save. And then when Caitlin goes to sell this item in the store, she will automatically get the commission applied, no extra steps required. We did also make a couple of changes or enhancements to the staff permissions surrounding commission. So if I go to my manager staff role and I scroll down to, I think it's the staff section. Yeah, so I think currently we only have one permission that's all about managing pay rates, and it's kind of all encompassing. That one's still here. It's just called configure pay rates, but we've also added the ability to modify pay rates for services versus products and purchase options. So if you have the permission today as a staff member to manage pay rates, you will have these new permissions as well. And those just dictate that interface I was showing you a second ago, where you can choose which staff gets which commission. And the final permission, which is a little bit more important, is about the point of sale itself. So under online store, we now have a permission to allow staff to override commission at the point of sale. So if you have a manager or a front desk person who is able to override which staff should get commission on the purchase, they will be able to do that at the point of sale. Otherwise, if they're missing this permission, they'll just have to get whatever commission is set up in that automatic commission interface. Any questions on that one, Av?
We have one from Kate, wondering if they're able to apply commissions to Fitbit on-demand videos. The videos in particular, no, but if the videos are attached to purchase options, then yes. So you can apply commissions on purchase options, but not individual videos. Did you show the setup of the automatic commission on the purchase
Yeah, I did,
option?
but I'll show it one more time. So you can actually make memberships specifically for Fitbit, so like a subscription to your video library, and then you can set up automatic commission on that membership. So I could just check off the staff, and this one has a membership commission, David does, so I can make sure that he gets that when he sells this subscription.
Kelsey's asking if they can apply automatic commissions to a category of products like apparel instead of doing it individually.
Yeah, that's a great question. Sadly, today it is one by one. I know that's really a big pain point that has been brought up to us by a lot of customers. We want to change that to let you make bulk edits to common settings such as this one, especially ones that would change when you do get a new staff or a staff member leaves your studio. But today it would be one by one on the purchase items.
Roger's asking if a front desk staff is logged in and sells on behalf of another staff member, who will get the commission?
That's a great question, Roger. So whoever's making the purchase will get the commission if they're set up to, but the use case there for the front desk would be that they need to have that permission to override commissions, and then they can actually choose who should get the commission. If it should be the staff member, they can change it to that staff member, just like they can today. But to answer your question, the automatic commission is for the person making the sale. So if David was the one at the point of sale, he would get the commission.
And Kathy's asking, what if they only get commission on sales that they make and not if the client comes in at an appointment?
Yeah, so you can set it up per item. So you don't have to set it up for the service. You can just set it up for retail products or membership or pass sales if that's what you want. It's totally up to you.
And Kate would like a feature request for commissions on the Fitbit video. So we'll see what we can do about getting that posted on the community forum.
Yep.
Callie's asking, as these things roll out, is there a place that we can offer feedback or additional questions? I guess the best place would be in the community forum that the feature request belongs to. You can just reply, and Sina and I will watch for notifications on when those replies come in. And yeah, I think it's probably safe to move on to the next one.
Awesome. Yeah, we are pretty active on the Wellness Living community. We love interacting with you guys. Just yesterday, we actually had a group user feedback session with 3 lovely ladies where we were looking at attendance lists and kind of talking through some enhancements we want to make there. So please do participate in the community if you're not already. That's just community.wellnessliving.com. As long as you're signed into Wellness Living, you don't have to make an account or anything. It'll just sign you right in and you can start participating. The next feature is a pretty cool quality of life enhancement. This one's also about pay rates, but this one's about time clock. So for staff that clock in and out to track their pay, we now support multiple hourly time clocks. Previously, you could only have one. So there was no opportunity to do like overtime pay or holiday pay or afternoon, evening pay. It was all manual. So now we actually do support going into the staff profile, pay rates, and you can set up multiple hourly rates. So Katie here has a daytime rate and then a holiday rate that's slightly higher. The daytime rate is her default rate. And when she goes to clock in, she's going to be asked which rate she wants to use. Of course, if you are a manager or a business owner, you can go into the time clock and make adjustments to the pay rate just like you can today, but at least now staff do have the ability to choose the correct pay rate for what they are doing. Cool. Any questions about that one?
We have a follow-up, but I will address it in the Q&A.
Sure. So moving right along, we're making good pace here. We have an improvement to forms. We're working on a lot of enhancements to forms that are going to come out, not this update, but the one after, but there is one small one, this update that I'm sure some people will appreciate. So if I open up a form here, in case you don't know what forms is, this is our form building tool that you can use for all sorts of purposes, information gathering from your clients and even your staff. A lot of our customers are using them for intake forms, but you can have them for all sorts of applications. We have a new setting that you can enable or disable per form. And it's located under this new section called privacy. Actually, there's two settings coming out with this release. So the first is the ability to add a confidentiality disclaimer for staff members when they're opening the form. So if the form contains, personal information, medical information, anything of that nature, of course, we do have permissions today around which staff can access which forms entirely, but this will just add an additional pop-up and indicator on the form on the client's profile that I'll show you in a second, just to let the staff member know, like, hey, this form has confidential information. Are you sure you're authorized to access it? And the second toggle is to actually hide the form from client view. So if this form is mainly for internal use, you don't want the client to be able to see the response or what's been filled in by the staff, you just turn this second toggle on and they won't be able to access it either from the client web app or the Achieve client app. If you leave this off, then it'll work like it works right now, where they have full access to the forms on their profile. I will also just grab a client, I think it's Renee, who has a confidentiality form on her profile. So if I go to documents and then forms, yeah, so she does have that training form on her profile. It's marked as confidential. And if I try to open it, I do get a warning that this is a confidential form. Are you sure you want to open it, basically? But again, we do have permissions on staff roles already of who can access what form. This is kind of just like an added buffer that you can turn on or off per form template.
We do have a question from Lena. Can we schedule forms to go out? So forms are associated to purchases, bookings, things like that. You can also grab the direct form URL and put it into any automated notification. And eventually, when we come out with automated marketing scheduling, you can also put the direct form URL into there as well. But Sina is just showing how you would associate forms to service bookings as well as purchases and registration as well. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, just in case you missed it earlier, Alana, we are working on letting you schedule emails and SMS and push notifications. So just like App said, you can insert the form there as a link or as a button using the new visual editor and have that sent to your clients when you need it to. Okay, let's move on. This next one's an admin change.
Sorry,
so,
before you move
yeah.
on,
Sure.
Kelsey's wondering, can we make forms generally available in the app like a freeze form?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not today. I know that a lot of our customers have made, freeze or hold request forms or cancellation request forms and put them on their website. But today we don't have them just available ad hoc in the client web app or the Achieve app. That's something we could definitely look into adding if there's enough demand for it. But I know a lot of people are just putting them on their website as a resource for their clients. Okay, this next one is a quality of life change for admins. So if you're someone who works with purchase options a lot or has to do a lot of edits for purchase options, Today, there is some ability to make global edits and have those applied retroactively, but honestly, it's pretty confusing, and a lot of the times it doesn't exactly do what you want it to. So we've worked to make it much more consistent and user-friendly when you're making edits to a purchase option at the global level. And when I say global, I just mean if you go to Setup, Store Configuration, Purchase Options, as opposed to editing a purchase option on a client's profile, which we'll also look at in a second. So I have this 6-month membership here that's set up to auto pay. And, super common thing that a lot of studios need to do, sometimes they need to raise the price. So we'll just do a price increase. I'll change the price from $60 a month to $70, and I'll go ahead and click save. So this pop-up is actually new. This doesn't exist today. It's letting you know that you're modifying a purchase option that's already been sold or owned by some clients. The changes you make are going to be retroactive. Are you sure you want to update them? If you don't want these changes, any changes you're making, it could be price, it could be which services you have access to, it could be tax on or off. There's a lot of different membership settings and pass settings for that matter. So if you don't want the changes to be retroactive, simply make a new purchase option and deactivate the existing one. As a best practice, we usually recommend renaming the existing one too, to indicate that it's like a legacy or grandfathered purchase option. But otherwise, the changes will be retroactive. You can view a summary of all the changes that you made. So, in this case, we just changed the price, but you could have made a bunch of changes before hitting save. They'll
And
all
just
be
to
listed here.
quickly chime in, for those that don't know, when you do deactivate a purchase option, you can still make it usable by people who still own that purchase option. So it's not like it's going to be gone from their account. They'll still be able to use it as of a certain date, or just whenever it expires, just in case.
Exactly. Yeah, so great point, Av. So by deactivate, I just mean that you're not offering it for sale as it is anymore, but people who already own it can still continue to use it. The other great advantage of this pop-up that we don't have today is it's actually going to give you a list of everyone who's going to be affected by these changes. So here I just get the number, but if I want the full list, I can just click on this and it's going to open a report in a new tab. And then if I need to, I can actually grab all of these clients, add them to a group so I don't lose track of them, or I can communicate with them right away to let them know that, hey, there's a change coming to your purchase option. I just need you to be aware. And then the final setting here, I kind of went in reverse, but there's a toggle here to apply to edited purchase options. And I'm actually going to show you what that means by going to a client's profile. So I'm going to pull up Renee, our test client again, and I'm going to go to her account tab and then passes and memberships, where I see all of her membership details. And here I can see that she actually has that 6-month membership on her account. So there's no badge here that says edited, because this membership that she owns is identical to the one that we've set up. But in case you're not aware, you can actually make edits to purchase options for individual clients. So sometimes it's necessary to make adjustments to an individual client's account. Maybe they get a slightly different rate. Maybe they need, an extra visit credit added to their pass because something happened and you want to compensate them for it, whatever the case may be. So if I edit Renee's membership, these changes will be, sorry, not this one, because this one was actually canceled before. I'll do this one instead. These changes will be just for her. So this is actually going into the next feature, but I'll just change her price to $35 just as an example. And when we go back to her passes and memberships page, you're going to see that it says edited in orange text, and it's going to let you know the staff member who made the edit. So that's what we mean by edited purchase options. It's a purchase option that's on a client's profile that doesn't match the one that's in the setup. So it's really important when you're making global changes to have the ability to impact edited purchase options or not. A lot of the times you're not going to want to, because you have some sort of special circumstance for that client. It was probably edited for a reason, and you might not want them to inherit that change that you're making globally. But if you do, that toggle is there. And when you turn it on, it actually updates the count of affected clients. So I've already closed it, but if it was still here, you would have seen that 17 go to 18, because now I've edited Renee's membership and she would have been counted as part of those users who would have been affected. So I hope that explanation makes sense, Kelly. Did I miss anything with this one, Av, or is that pretty much it?
I do just want to give a forewarning to everyone just to use this feature with like very mindful attention.
Caution.
Yeah, with lots of caution, like red tape all over, because if you do make an accidental save and you push this change down to all of these clients who already own this purchase option, then it's a lot of work to go back and fix that mistake. So just be very, very, very mindful about this. Kelly's asking, is this any edit at all, or does that edited by message show up only for some edits?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kelly. So when you're editing a purchase option on a client's profile, like I'm doing now, any change I make to it would cause this edited by. And the great thing about this is you can click on it and then click on view details. You can see exactly when that edit was made, who made it, and what the actual edit was. So that's what I was kind of segueing into, is this is our edit log. For those of you who might not know, that's under the flower logo and then edit log. This shows you, if you have permission to see it, all the changes that were made in the system to pricing options, services, schedules, etc. So I can see that Katie actually made an edit to Renee's membership, and what she did was she changed the price. So you do have a log of those edits that are made for individual clients, and you also have a log of edits that are made at the global level, like we were doing earlier. And the great thing with this release is for the edit log, when you do make a global edit, that list of affected clients will still be accessible here. So those 17 members, if I forgot to add them to a group, or I meant to contact them, but I just didn't get around to it, I can always come back tomorrow or a week from now, come to the edit log, find when I made that change, and pull that list of members again.
Lots of questions coming in. Jamie is asking, can you please clarify again, how would you recommend that we change prices if need be globally?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll walk you through that super slowly because it is a little bit confusing if you haven't done it before. So I can choose any pricing option. I will choose, I don't want a prepaid. I'll just choose this membership. So I'm editing it globally because I'm under my setup. I can change the price to increase it or decrease it. If I don't want this change to impact existing members, I would want to deactivate this pricing option. The only thing is, Av, I don't know where the deactivate switch is.
It
Am
should
I
be in the
blind?
right corner.
It's missing.
It's probably your permission.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably true. Okay, so you do have to have permissions to deactivate, but normally there's a toggle right here that says deactivate. You flick that off, and then it asks you, do you want people who already own it to be able to continue using it? And that by default is on. So if you leave that on, all of your existing members essentially get a legacy membership. You're not selling it anymore in your store or offering it to new clients, but everyone who already has it is not affected. And then you can effectively go make a new membership and do whatever you want with it, change the price, etc. If you do want the price change to impact existing members, you would just change it on this purchase option. You wouldn't deactivate it. You would hit save. You would get this pop-up, review the summary of the changes that you made, look at the list of affected clients, make sure it kind of makes sense and lines up with what your active member count to be, and then decide whether or not people who have edited versions of this membership should also get the change.
Kelly is asking, can you choose which edited packages are affected? Would it be all or none?
Yeah, so it is universal. So if you do flick this switch on, basically everyone who has this purchase option on their profile would get the change. If you wanted to make it one by one, like case by case, some edited people get it and some don't, you would have to do that manually. The good news is that we do have reports that will show you clients who have edited memberships on their profile. So you could at least pull a list of them. The easiest way to get that would be to just flick this switch and then click on this button, because that's going to open the report in a new tab. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the filters here, do you remember, Av, for edited purchase options? Yeah, it is. So you can just change this edited filter from no to yes. I think this is going to be 0 because I don't think anyone has this particular membership edited. Oh, they
And
do.
just quickly, we got a quick question from Michelle. She has to drop, so she's wondering about the recording. It will be sent in an email later on. So don't worry, Michelle, you can always watch it on demand later.
Yeah, if you register for one of our webinars, you always get the recording via email. But before Av really interrupted me, I was just going to say that this would be a great way to find who has edited purchase options. The problem is it doesn't seem to be working on the staging environment, so I can't
What
show it
about
off for
power
you.
search?
I don't think it'll work because I think it's just like a hard filter, but it should work. So we can fix that before the release. But I don't know if we have one. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, so let me just test it. You can keep going with other questions if we have them.
Can the expiration date on a purchase option be changed individually? Yes, it can. Just be careful when you do change it on memberships. You are weary of payment schedules. Shelley was.
It's actually great that Shelley brought that up because that was the next point on my very long train of thought, which is that there are very few exceptions to what you can't change globally. Expiration date is one of them. So if you do have a purchase option that has a set expiration date, memberships don't work that way, but session passes do. You can't push that expiration date down to existing clients. So just be mindful of that. I just want to show the fact that if I make a change here and then hit save, this summary of changes, it very specifically states changes that apply to active client purchases. So if you don't see a change that you made show up here, existing clients are not going to get it. So just keep that in mind. We will have a full help article that outlines in detail, A, how to do this, and B, what changes apply retroactively and which ones don't. But expiration date is not one of them.
And Deborah was asking about historical purchases as well. If the changes that you make here, are they going to impact past purchases?
Yeah, that's the whole point of the feature, Deborah, is to let you know what will impact past purchases and what won't. What you do have control over is whether or not those changes should impact edited purchase options, which we were just talking about a couple minutes ago.
I think more specifically, the question was if the purchase option has already been canceled or if it's expired already, will those changes be inherited?
Yeah, so the key word here is active client purchases. So if a client has a pass that's already expired or canceled or been terminated, these changes won't apply to them because the purchase isn't active anymore.
And then one more from Brandy before we move on. When we do this and add something to the membership overall, we have to manually go into any membership that has been edited. The change to the overall membership doesn't apply to any previously edited memberships. So that's how it works right now. But with this new improvement, it'll give you the ability to do it en masse for edited memberships. But again, exercise this new improvement here with caution, please.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. And Brandy, just in case you joined late, the features that we're showing on today's webinar are not live yet. They will be live with our release later this month. This is just kind of a sneak peek of what's coming out.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, those are some great questions. This is a pretty powerful, but also potentially confusing feature. So I hope that we made it as clear as humanly possible how it works. Next one is also about memberships. We're not going to spend too much time on it because it's not so much a feature as it is, again, just about clarity and quality of life. So if I go back to Renee's profile and I go to edit her fitness membership like we were doing before, we've slightly changed the price section inside the membership that I've just scrolled past. So I think currently there's just a singular field for price that you can modify, but we've noticed that customers often run into situations where they're trying to change one thing and they're actually end up changing another. Sometimes the membership has a discount on it and they just want to remove the discount, or they want to add a discount and they're not sure of the best way to do that. So we tried to simplify this. In the price section, you're now going to see the purchase total. That's how much the client initially paid for the membership. You can also see a breakdown of any discounts that were applied towards that purchase. So those could be things like manual discounts in the shopping cart. They could be discount codes. They could be reward points. They could be automatic discounts because the client has a certain client type. So those will all be listed here, just like they would be listed on the purchase receipt. So you have that information in front of you. And then there's actually two fields. So one field is about the regular price before tax. So in this case, that's $35 a month for this membership. Actually, it was originally $40, but we changed it in the previous feature. So now it's $35 a month. And you can modify the scheduled payment discount. So if you, for instance, had a discount code that you set up to apply on auto pays, because that is a setting that you can do with discount codes, and then you purchase this membership using that discount code, well, it would have a scheduled payment discount here of whatever that discount code was good for. And if you wanted to remove that discount, but not from an accounting perspective, change the price of the membership, you could just zero out this field and hit save. And you will get a notice that changing the discount or changing the price will only impact future payments going forward, but this won't mess up your sales reporting. Like, it's not going to suddenly treat this like it's a $29 membership just because you removed $6 from it. It's going to keep the regular price as is and just affect the actual discount amount. So I hope I explained that properly. Again, we are going to have help resources around these releases, but yeah, that's just, again, a quality of life thing around membership prices and discounts.
I guess one more thing that people today might be doing is, if you do want to give a discount, you would have to go into every single scheduled payment and manually change the price. But with this, it would give you just one thing that you would have to do, and then it would impact it going forward.
Yeah, great point. So I have seen some customers, what they will do is they will go into the payment schedule and they'll edit every single amount, which is, depending on how long your contract is very tedious. So you don't have to do that anymore. You can just edit the membership and add a discount amount here. All the previous payment periods that the client's already paid for will stay as is, and the new ones will be updated to reflect the discount.
All right, I think we're good to move on.
Awesome. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. You're going to have to entertain people for a bit because I have to switch over to the Achieve app. So bear with me a second while I do that.
I'm not a good entertainer.
Just, say something, dance, I don't know.
No, we did get a question from Shelly actually about the MailChimp API integration and if that would be addressed in this release, and the answer is yes. So we are planning to address the fix in this upcoming release. But hopefully, with the new email editor, you will transition to using the visual editor in WellnessLiving. And with scheduled emails coming out too, that will be a great addition as well. We did get another 3 new questions. Thanks, guys, for helping me entertain. So Michelle's asking, I answered the discussion late. Can you please put it in the chat? Not quite sure what that question is tied to. So Michelle, do refresh my memory, please. Rui is asking any update on release date for receipts for medical billing. Sina, I know you were doing some user feedback sessions on that specific improvement, if you want to address the release on that.
We're hoping for Q1. That's all I can really say today, but we're working on it.
The recording for this session, Michelle, yes, thank you for refreshing my memory. You will get the recording after the webinar, hopefully within the next 24 hours.
Okay, no more entertaining because I got it open. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we're in the Achieve client app, kind of, sort of. It's not a real app, but I'm showing it off for you. So this is what your clients would see. If they go to the My Profile tab and then view their purchases, they can now actually access payment schedules for their memberships if they want. So there's a payment schedule link here. They would just tap on that and it's going to show them all their scheduled auto pays, payments that they've already made. If there are any skip payments or hold periods, those will also show up. We're not going to show things that might be potentially confusing for the client, like failed payments or $0 payments or anything of that nature. But hopefully this will reduce some admin work and work for your front desk of people asking you, when's my next payment coming out? Or why was I billed on this date? So that's all accessible through the app now. That was pretty much it. So now I have to switch back. So back to entertaining.
Let's see. We did get a question about importing mailings from Constant Contact. Could they potentially do that with Zapier?
Yes, they can. So let me just switch so my brain keeps working, and then I can answer you properly.
All
I
right,
lost my tabs. I got too many tabs.
no problem. Kelsey is asking about payment schedules in the white label app. Answer is yes, it's available on both versions of the app.
Kelsey, typically when we do updates for Achieve, we make it available for everyone. So whether you're white label or not, you should be able to get it.
Yes.
Okay, so what was the question about Constant Contact one more time?
Importing contacts from Constant Contact.
Oh yeah, so yes, you could use Zapier to connect.
Or mailings.
I think she does mean like mailing lists. So we do already have like a way to connect your Constant Contact account. So if you go to setup integrations and then Constant Contact, you can just connect, sign in with Constant Contact, and you'll get your clients automatically. But if you are using another CRM or marketing tool, as long as they allow connecting to Zapier, we do allow you to bring leads. We call them leads, but it could really be any client information into Wellness Living using the Zapier connection. So, if you added a client in that other CRM, it could automatically sync over to Wellness Living, and then you could do whatever you wanted with them in our system.
I guess we did get some clarification. I guess it was actually about templates, I think.
Templates. Yeah, so I'll just touch on that briefly. I think we probably need to have a whole webinar about this email editor because people are
100%.
excited about it. But the way that it would work, what's the best way for me to explain this? So you can add HTML blocks using the new email editor. Like you can just drag and drop this.
And that's how
then,
people are doing it today, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly. So you can continue to do that. If you have another email editor you want to copy content from, you could do it. The only thing I want to point out is that if you were to paste in an entire template from like Canva or MailChimp or Constant Contact, you wouldn't then be able to edit every single piece of it using the email editor. It would just kind of be like its own block. So that's kind of the way the email editor works, is like each of these pieces is a block. So when you do import a template, there's only so much that you could do with it at that point. So I just want you to be aware of that. Any other questions, or should we resume scheduled programming?
We did get a question from Brandy about Flowdesk integration, and I believe I saw that on the community forum as a request. I think it's in gathering votes right now.
I'm afraid I don't know what Flowdesk is, Brandy. Maybe you could educate me.
And one from Adam.
After.
One from Adam while you do that. If the goal is to allow clients to move completely to Wellness Living for bulk emails, is there a consideration about allowing to send emails to non-clients with a profile?
I think the honest answer is no. I think that in our system, the way that we envision it, it's really, it is a CRM, and when you're talking about people who are not clients, we really only have one classification for those people, which is leads. So for us, a lead is really just someone with like a bare bones profile. You might just have their name and email. You might have a bit of additional information. Definitely nothing stopping you from tagging those people into a certain client group and then using the marketing suite to contact them. But I don't think our system is ever going to support bulk emailing people that you just have email addresses for and they're not in your database. That's not really the way that we've designed the tool, and I don't see us really going in that direction, at least not in the near future.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. Do you want to maybe do one or two more?
One or two more, but we have so much more to do. Okay, fine. What time is it?
It's just 3:03.
3:03. Okay.
I guess we will go to 3:15, and
yeah. Okay, so
you can always watch the recording after too.
We'll talk about some heavy hitters. Probably the first thing many of you are going to notice after the release is that the client profile has a new look and feel. We tried to keep things as familiar as possible. Like we didn't want to remove anything that people relied on today. or make it really hard to find. In fact, quite the opposite. We wanted to just make information more visually pleasing, less cluttered. So everything from, profile notes to the overview information to tasks and forms and alerts, it's all here. It's all still available. We probably won't have time to go into every single change because there was a bunch of small ones. So I'll just call out like the most convenient things. Client groups, which we did talk a lot about during this webinar, they used to be buried under this three-dot icon here. You couldn't even tell what groups the client was in. Now we've gone ahead and exposed that. We've added their icons here. So if you are using client group icons, you can visually identify them. And if you click add to group, you can quickly see which groups the client is a member of, because they could be part of a whole bunch. And then you can also add them to any group that you want by just, well, not ones that have auto update, but if you wanted to add them to another group, you could do that from this interface. We added lifetime visits just as a nice little summary. I think we're also going to try to add last 30 days before the release. I'm not sure we'll get it in there, but just as a convenience thing. Tasks, you have these little icons that denote the status of the task. You can add a new task without leaving the client profile. It just opens an overlay, assign it to a certain staff member. Forms, exact same deal, which forms are on their profile, what the status is when they were added, stuff like that. Did I miss anything major, Av?
It would be that toggle right there.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're adding profile notes, the way that it works today is any note that you add, and correct me if I'm wrong, goes into this little alert icon, which is great. A lot of you love this feature because it lets you see information and it kind of follows the client around the interface. But when you start adding a lot of notes, it can get kind of overwhelming, the amount of info that's in this tiny little tooltip. So we just added this toggle here of whether or not this particular note should be in that icon. That's it. So again, quality of life, convenience, we're all about that. So yeah, just in the interest of time, I think we'll move on.
Do you want to just show the relationships just real quick?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. So under profile details, historically, you've been able to see a client's relationships from this left-hand menu that I actually had minimized, but we've now also added a section under profile details where you can see all of the client's relationships. They're grouped by the relationship type. You can see who pays for whom. There's no more having to toggle between every single relationship to see what the links are and who pays for who. So again, just a convenience thing. And of course, you can add new relationships from here.
And also a convenience thing is we move the address field above the city and the country. So that will go.
Oh yeah, street address.
Yeah, so small things like that, it will really add up in terms of time saving. And if anyone has any additional suggestions on how we can make this even better, please let us know. A lot of these little things that we did add, we took from the community forum. So we gathered all the feedback from the client profile and put it all into this one improvement.
Absolutely. And just speaking of tasks, we also now have alerts in the alert center for tasks. So you can get alerts now when a new task is assigned to you and when a task becomes due. So again, just a very minor thing. If you use the task manager, if you don't, maybe this is a reason to start using it. You'll also get these tasks in the Elevate Staff app, the alerts for them in the Elevate Staff app if you do have that downloaded.
And just before you move on, Jamie is asking, is there a way to have a tooltip indicator with a countdown or up to track health conditions like pregnancy, due dates, weeks postpartum?
There's no way to make it count up or count down. One thing you could do, Jamie, this might work for you. It depends on your exact use case. When you're setting up client groups, which we've again talked about a lot, but they're super powerful, you can actually give them icons, and as part of those icons, you can type some characters. So you can have like digits in the icon. So for tracking something like pregnancy due date, I don't know how well that would work because you are limited to 3 characters, but weeks postpartum, that might help. So if you wanted to just track milestones like that for your clients and have an icon, you can just turn on the icon for the group, and each client can have up to 3 group icons underneath their name, and that will follow them around the entire interface. So that might help you if you didn't know about that feature.
That's a good suggestion, Tina. Kelly's asking about phone numbers on the main overview page. So the reason that Kelly might have not seen one on the profile that you were sharing is because that client didn't have a phone number saved. But if Sina were to go to somebody with a phone number, then it would.
I don't know if I have anyone with a phone number. I don't know if it'll let me save it in this staging account, but let me try. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can now click and that will open the quick contact interface to send them the SMS or send them the email. So that will be the same. It's just a slightly different look. And eventually we'll add a shortcut button so that you can quickly copy the email or the phone number to the clipboard. So that's coming out in a later enhancement. And Brandy was asking that, so that they're noticing that their overview page looks very different. So again, we are in the staging environment right now, which is different than your view of the client profile right now. So after the release, your client profiles will look exactly like this one. Jim is asking, do you have mandatory field settings required to complete a profile, date of birth, phone number?
Yes.
You do.
So under setup, clients, and then client profile fields, you can mark any fields you want as mandatory by the client. And you can also choose if they're mandatory when they're registering or when they're booking. And then you can also add custom fields. So you don't have to be limited to just things like date of birth and phone number, although those are already here. You can also add custom fields like how did you hear about us, etc. Just our recommendation is to kind of be minimal with the number of fields that you put in here, because you do want clients to eventually sign up and not kind of be swamped by fields, but that's up to you.
And in the overview specifically, the fields that you see are the ones that you saw on Sina's profile. You can't customize the ones that show up there. Everything else will be visible in the profile details if you need to check on other mandatory fields that they may or may not have filled out. Kathy, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. She had to drop.
Hi, Kathy.
And we have a question in the client info overview. Is there a way to add an emergency contact details for parents, specifically for for children in the martial arts school setting and the parents not clients?
Yeah, the relationship details only show up in profile details, not the overview. We are considering an enhancement in the future to let you customize which pieces of information show up on the overview. So that is something we'll consider, but they are just a click away. So if you did have a child profile here, they had both their parents, you could see who the parents are and what their contact details are, but it would be on just on a different tab than the overview right now.
So I know a lot of you have to drop. We do want to put a poll question on the screen, and we're just interested to know if you feel like this pre-release webinar is enough for you, or if you'd like to continue your knowledge on what we're releasing in a post-training webinar. So please let us know, and then we'll give everyone a couple seconds, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the features Sina has on his list. So it looks like overwhelming majority is that yes, they'd like to learn more in a post-release webinar. Thanks everyone for answering that webinar. I think it's pretty clear.
We're just making sure you guys are
Yeah,
paying attention.
exactly.
How many more features are there to review? There's just one, actually. I'm going to spare you. There's only one more. So we'll actually do it right now.
And we are going to have, it's confirmed, we're going to have a post-training webinar too. So no stress.
Okay, this last one is for people who use waitlists. So currently we do have a business policy to allow clients to book onto waitlists without paying, but it does automatically charge them when they get promoted. And I know a lot of customers don't like that because they want to be able to basically control when the client is billed, which makes perfect sense. So we've added a new toggle here of whether or not the client should automatically be charged upon promotion. If you turn this off, and this can be enabled or disabled per class or globally, then the client can be promoted and join the waitlist as unpaid, and then you just pay for them whenever is convenient to do so. So again, nice quality of life business policy. That was it. That was the last feature. There was actually more, but to be honest, I feel like there's only so much the brain can absorb. So we'll kind of call it wraps there. Do you want to do like 5 minutes of Q&A and then we'll call it, just in case people have more questions or about the roadmap or any other features we didn't talk about today?
We just have one question. So Mara is asking about needing to understand about personal calendars. So I'm not too sure, Mara, if you can clarify your question, we would appreciate it. Sina, while we wait for maybe more questions to come in, do you want to just switch over to the client profile and showcase the
Sure.
design?
Yeah, so we actually didn't just do the client profile in the staff view. We also did the client profile in the client view. Again, just making it a little bit more modern, visually pleasing, easier to access information, fully mobile responsive. So if a client's pulling this up on their phone, it's a lot nicer to look at and interact with. They can edit their profile. They can see any alerts or notes that may be public and visible to them. The profile details page also got that relationships tab. I know that relationship management is a pretty big pain point for some studios that cater to families specifically. So now clients can see all of their relationships in one place, add new relationships. This goes hand in hand with the relationship booking feature that we talked about very early on in the webinar. I know that seems like a lifetime ago, but we're here now. So yeah, new look and feel for the profile details tab on the client web app.
Cool. Bill wants your t-shirt.
Oh, well, it's not a t-shirt, it's a long sleeve, but
Bill,
actually
why don't you want mine?
no, he likes mine. Mine is cool. Yours is like, it looks like a sweats. Um,
I disagree.
this is new merch, Bill. So we'll find out for you. We have to ask our marketing people, our awesome marketing team. I bug them day and night. I was like, I'm not doing another webinar until you get me a shirt. And they got me a shirt. So I'll see about customers being able to get shirts. I know they want to do some stuff around sending like community form winners like swag kits and stuff like that. So those will definitely include some wearables too, but we'll find out for you.
Yeah, and they're also asking about when we do webinars. So I think we're doing more and more webinars every
All the
single.
freaking time is the answer.
Exactly.
But this
Randy,
was just this was our first pre-release one. I really want to call that out because it's a new thing for us. So we're glad that you guys liked it, and it sounds like you want a post-release one as well. So we'll do that. So
Kelly
typically
wants
you can
merch for
expect one.
webinar attendees.
What's that?
Kelly wants merch for webinar attendees. We'll work on that as well.
Oh, well, I don't know if you can
Bill
get it
does like that.
just for joining the webinar. I mean, come on, we're not made of merch here. But typically leading up to a release and the weeks after a release, for sure, we'll have like a big webinar like this. We'll walk you through a bunch of enhancements. And then we do have specific webinars about specific product offerings or new features that we really want to highlight and get into how to use them better. So if you follow our social media or just go onto our blog, all of the webinars with their dates are listed there.
So Brandy's asking the notes feature on the client overview. So what we did actually, which is really important, is that we separated alerts from notes. So alerts now in the client profile are considered like system alerts, like if they have a transformation log update, if they owe the business money, if their payment is past due. So those are all going to be there on the right-hand side. And then any custom notes that you added about the client will be in the middle section there. And you don't need to enable that. Brandy is also asking, soap notes are different. We use those also. Soap notes have not changed with this release, so maybe you can clarify on where you saw that it, where it was confusing.
I think she just wanted clarification. So yeah, soap notes are still on services. We just, like Av said, we made profile notes and alerts two different things because we noticed a lot of customers, especially new users, just got confused. They wanted to add a profile note and didn't understand that that was actually called alert. So we're really just calling it something else, but it works the exact same way. So just for clarity, that changed.
And Tracy is asking, is there an icon for notes so we could see that there is a note on the profile? Yes,
Yeah.
This icon follows the client around in the UI everywhere, on the attendance list, in the search. And if you don't want your note to show in that black tooltip is what we call it, then you can turn off the toggle to show it there, as Sina is showing here. Kelly is asking, is there a setting to require a photo for clients when they're setting up their own profile? The answer is yes. Just go into client profile details here and make it required by the client. Then Kelly's also asking, what if we have multiple notes and multiple alerts for a client? How many will be visible at one time in the overview page? So what we did is we optimized the views. So all of them will appear, but after a certain height, a scroll bar will appear and you can just scroll down to see the rest of the notes. And there's a character count on that as well. Callie's asking, is there a contact log? Not on the overview. The contact log will be in its own tab on the left-hand side. We have contact history where you can record any interactions that you had with the client in the studio, over the phone, in your personal email, etc. And any automated notifications are also stored in the contact log as well. So it's all in one view. Celeste is asking, is there a way to customize surcharges? Yes, you can add surcharges, but surcharges are not separated by ACH, so direct debits and credit card. It's one surcharge that applies to all online payments. In the future, we are working on making those split surcharges. And Sina, if you can just go to store settings real quick and show where that setting is.
Sure.
So just over here in store settings, and it'll be right over here. So you can customize that surcharge, a percentage or $1, a flat fee. And Tracy is going back to the notes. Are the note icon and alert icons the same or different? I thought yellow was triangle, and I thought the yellow triangle icon was for alerts. So there are separate icons. So if the client owes money, there's an account balance icon, and there's unpaid visits as well. Do we have one for, I think payments due as part of account balance, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. I'll just give this client an account balance so we can show that off.
Brandy, while you're doing that, can you just answer, Brandy, any update on the new card swiper for chip and tap to pay?
Very, very soon. I don't know if it for a fact it'll be with this release. It might be a couple weeks after. Like, it won't have to wait until our next release, basically is what I'm trying to say. We are working with our payment partner in the US to make those readers available for our customers to order and start using, but I don't know for a fact if it'll be with the release. If it is, we'll make sure to put it in the release notes and we'll put information on how you can order one. But yeah, that's the extent of what I can say about that right now.
So yeah, you added the account balance. Just go back into the overview so you could see the alert there.
Yeah, so we have an alert here for, Damon owes $55. And if I find Damon in the client list, he has the yellow icon for his notes, which I've made a very long note just to demonstrate, but there is a separate icon for things like account balances and unpaid visits.
And Kelly, yes, that will include Apple Pay. Is that right, Sina?
Yeah, our payment partner does provide terminals that support contactless payment methods, including mobile wallets like Apple and Google and Samsung Pay. So when those terminals are available, they will support that.
And Mara, I think she had to drop, but I did get clarity on the question. They wanted to know how to add own calendar when they are available and when they're not available. So you can do that on the schedule, just in the calendar view. You can click on any spot and then select if you want to add availability or unavailability. So
we can probably send her a help article on how to do that after.
For sure. And then Tracy is asking, do client groups change or expire? So a client type changes based on purchases. Client groups update. Clients move in and out of groups based on whether or not they meet the conditions of that group. So that's kind of the quote unquote expiration of the group.
Yeah, so it just depends on how you set it up. So for something like an event attendance, I don't know if I have any events here. I probably do, like boot camp, right? You can say if the client's booked it or if they've attended it. And as long as they have attended this bootcamp service, then they will stay in this group forever, essentially. But there are some other criteria where they may fall out of that criteria, and then the system will automatically remove them from the group. So again, it just depends on how you set them up. And if there's some specific criteria that you're looking for that we don't have today, we're always thinking of new ones to add to make the feature even more flexible and powerful. So make sure to let us know in the community what you think.
And that was it for all the questions. Do you want to close this out, Sina?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for attending. Like Av and I said, this is like one of the favorite parts of our jobs. We really, really love interacting with you guys. Based on the poll response, we'll have another one of these after the release. Maybe get to talk about some of these features more in depth, and maybe talk about some features we didn't get to show today. If you join late or you have to leave early, of course, you're going to get the link for this recording automatically. You don't have to do anything. It'll be sent to you. And that's pretty much it. When we have the release, you'll get the full release notes and you guys can enjoy it, I hope. That's
Awesome.
it.
Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Let us know your feedback, any suggestions for improvements, anything, let us know. We're all ears. Thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you
you.
guys. Bye.